Welcome to a very special episode of Cartoon Mistakes with Urban Monkey. Cartoon Mistakes is a brand new show that takes a look back at some of my favourite childhood cartoons and tries to find as many mistakes in them as possible. In this episode I'm going to be looking at perhaps my favourite cartoon, Spider-Man the Animated Series, a show which ran for 5 series from 94 to around 1997. This is the first show of a 5-part series taking a look back at Spider-Man the Animated Series. Each episode will focus on an individual series. So what better place to start than Series 1, where it all began. A mistake occurs in episode 2 of the show, when Jameson is flying his helicopter after sending the Scorpion in to attack Spider-Man.
This would happen? What are you doing?
What do you think? Getting as much distance from that lunatic as possible.
Now! Go down! Down!
I am. When I get back to base.
As Jameson flees, he looks out of the helicopter window, and he appears to be rather spooked. What could have got him to be so shocked? Maybe it's because his Daily Bugle office has its sign wrong. Here, for some reason, it's called Dial Bugle. Not to worry though, in later episodes it does get it fixed, and the sign actually is properly done. A mistake occurs in this scene as Shocker pushes Eddie Brock up the stairs of his apartment. If you play it back in slow motion, you can see that there is a purple line on the left side of the screen. Before the Shocker goes past this, the Shocker isn't coloured in. You can just see the black outline. Strange. In the Menace of Mysterio episode, a mistake occurs as Spider-Man looks at the crowd from the bridge.
What next?
If you play it in slow motion, you can see that 2 people in the crowd suddenly appear out of nowhere. Maybe they're some of Mysterio's holograms or something. The problem with giving the main character a new suit is that the artists might not be used to the colours. And here we see a perfect example of this, as Spider-Man swings across the city.
Sure doesn't look like him. Who else can it be? He changed his costume to fool us. Wouldn't want to make a mistake for Jameson's...
Notice the white sections on Spider-Man's hands.
And I'll take that chance. Whoa!
As Spider-Man shoots over the roof of the building and grabs onto the ledge, you can see that in this shot, in the close-up of his hand, that the white square is now blue. But the symbiote suit isn't the only thing to have wrong colours on it. Here's a quick collection of other colour mistakes in the first series of Spider-Man. As Spider-Man gets into Mysterio's lair, he takes a look at his plans.
Beck's got all the plans right here. The museum, the mall, the bridge. It must have taken him months to...
From this shot it appears that Mysterio can't spell, as he spelt museum muscum. I also love how Spidey just glosses over it and doesn't even make a joke about the spelling error. This clip features Alistair Smythe, who builds worse robots than Dr. Robotnik. As Smythe goes into the building, notice the green floor is clear with no markings on it.
A deal's a deal, Smythe. You promised me you'd destroy Spider-Man. You'll work for me until you do.
When the door goes to shut, suddenly there's this red and black marking on the floor. Yeah, when we get the shot from behind Smythe, those red markings on the floor have gone.
There's nothing left.
Hey! Go! Whoa! My suit has cruise control, but your suit...
Here we see Spider-Man cause a yellow fire hydrant to erupt and gush with water. In the next shot, looking down at the street, the fire hydrant is suddenly red.
Your suits have battery packs that blow up if they get wet. Bye-bye.
A mistake occurs in Doc Ock's first episode as he holds Felicia Hardy and J. Jonah Jameson hostage. Notice how Ock has Jameson in a briefcase and then Spider-Man in 3 of his 4 arms. Yet, in that shot there, the briefcase has suddenly disappeared, only for it to then come back in the next shot.
What's with all this secrecy, Smythe?
Good evening, Mr. Jameson.
Where's Spider-Man?
There he is.
Notice in this scene there is not another bed next to Spider-Man. In fact, there's nothing next to him.
Well, what do you know? I've waited a long time to see you apprehended. Now let's see who's under that.
A mistake then occurs as the scene progresses, and Jameson himself is also captured.
What gives, Smythe?
It's obvious. It wants a mate, and you're the lucky guy.
You called me here to witness Spider-Man's capture.
I must admit, I had an ulterior motive.
What are you doing?
In this shot, suddenly, there is a second bed coming from out of nowhere. So where did that one come from?
No, take it back. It clashes with the color of my costume. Hey, don't look at me. Maybe you didn't deliver his paper this morning.
But are you nuts?
You have to ask.
You and your web-slinging.
And that brings me to the end of my look at Series 1 of Spider-Man the Animated Series. Stay tuned for the second part of this 5-part saga next week, where I'll be looking at Series 2, The Neogenic Nightmare.